Can competitors become collaborators? Welcome to another episode of Rad Solutions Lab, a mini series where we share innovative solutions that will spark change and transform the current state of the social impact sector. If you missed the previous episodes, be sure to watch and get excited about the 4 solutions we're talking about in this series. So today we're talking about one solution in particular, shared services and spaces, and we've invited someone to join us who knows a whole lot about this topic, Alejandra Winter. Welcome, Ale. Thank you so much for being here. Ale, you're the director at the Cambridge Innovation Center. You're also a dear friend and a colleague with whom I've shared many spaces and services in the past. So before I jump into some of my questions, I'd love for you to introduce yourself briefly and share a little bit more about what you do.
Thank you very much, Alia. Really wonderful to be here. Super excited to share about something that I love. So, a little bit about me. I lead international innovation programs at CIC. CIC stands for Cambridge Innovation Center. CIC started in Cambridge, Massachusetts, so right next to Boston, over kind of like 20 years ago, and has grown into a network of innovation campuses. These are shared spaces that are about like 30K square feet to like 165K square feet. We're in the US, in Europe, Asia, cities like Boston, of course, but also Tokyo, Berlin, Rotterdam, among other cities. My job, I would say right now, has two sides. One is helping these international startups from all over the world land into new markets. And the other is working with governments, corporations, universities to design the collaborative programs that makes these shared spaces or these innovation hubs thrive.
Mm.
What I love about this work is that I've seen time and again how the right environment can actually unlock business success and real community transformation.
I love that. I've always been so impressed by CIC and the environment it builds for changemakers, for innovators, for entrepreneurs. I mean, I got to experience it myself for many years when Radical Partners was based at CIC Miami. Um, but before we dig in a little bit more to like what shared services and spaces means in practice for CIC, I'm curious what it means to you. Like, how do you define shared services and spaces? Like when you're trying to explain it to somebody who may not be in this world, what does it look and feel like to you?
I always like to start with an analogy. So, healthcare needs infrastructure, and that would be hospitals. Education needs infrastructure, and that will be university. And collaboration also needs infrastructure. And these are the shared spaces. These shared spaces are the infrastructure we're talking about. I would say they're the hardware where these people converge. But what is interesting is that hardware alone is never enough. What matters the most is the software. So a hospital wouldn't make sense if there are no doctors, if there are no patients. A university wouldn't make sense if there's no professors, no researchers, no students. So a shared space wouldn't actually make sense without the community, without the trust, without shared rituals that bring it alive.
Totally. And how does that show up in CIC? Like what do shared services and spaces look like practically? Like when you walk into a CIC, whether it's in Tokyo, whether it's in Rotterdam, whether it's in Boston, what are the kind of concrete ways that shared services and spaces show up?
I will split this question in the two things that I just answered. So, like the physical hardware and the software, what would be the programming that
Mhm.
brings it alive? So, at CIC, a physical campus would look like 3 6 floors of like really nice spaces that have laboratories, offices, event spaces. Also, it has an identity. So, depending on each one of the campus, I would say that we decide of an identity that could be something that we care about, or it would be something that makes sense where it is located. So if you go to a CIC, doesn't matter where in the world, you recognize it's at CIC. But the one in Boston, of course, is different from the one in Berlin because they're just two different cultures. And I would say also that the things that are happening inside are also different depending on, because we care about that. So, for example, in New York, we're going to be doing a whole hub in climate tech because we care about that and our partner in New York cares about that. But in Boston, it's biotech because it makes more sense with Boston. But what does really matter is the identity. Is because this is where people can say like, "Oh, I belong here." This is what attracts the community and what resonates with the mission. And when people feel they belong, collaboration comes naturally.
You're watching Radical Solutions Lab. Stick around, there's a lot more ahead.
Our goal with this series is to add value to the social impact ecosystem by sharing some outcomes and concrete solutions that emerge from our Neighborhood Heroes Impact Study. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all of the episodes.
And we are back with Radical Solutions Lab.
Ale, what would you tell investors to encourage them to invest in building more shared spaces or even subsidizing shared services for innovators and change makers?
That's a great question because it goes to the heart of it. Why should anyone put money into this? The simple answer is because collaboration creates much more than the sum of the parts. When you invest in shared spaces, you're not just paying for desk or internet. You're supporting the environment where growth can actually happen. So, to give you some examples, startups usually don't have many resources. But when they go to these shared spaces, you have people that can be an expert in legal matters or some in mentorship or some in, I don't know, laboratory equipment and different things. So they can get access to these things that normally would be too expensive for them. And that for sure helps them move faster and grow faster. At the same time, I would say for big institutions like companies, universities, even governments, they benefit too because actually they get this entrepreneurial energy, they get to test ideas, they get to find new talent, but also they're close to the people that are doing new things and they're actually part of it. So I would say it's an exchange that goes two ways. But it's not only economic, there's also a social return. Shared spaces create sense of belonging. And I've seen immigrants founders, and I would include myself here, make their first friends here, find their new collaborators, their new investors in these places. I've seen students meet mentors who completely change their whole career path. And those human connections are what makes everything else possible. So to funders, I would say yes, you'll see results in the form of like new companies or new jobs or new partnerships. But the bigger story is that every dollar we put in multiplies because you're not only supporting one project, but you're enabling collaboration for a lot of different projects.
And what do you think are the most important considerations when shaping collaborative programs and places like CIC? Especially because we just talked about that there's economic impacts, there's social impacts, there's impacts for the whole city. So, what are the things that we need to be thinking about when shaping these programs or spaces?
I like to narrow it down to four considerations. So, first, identity. And by identity, I don't just mean industrial vertical. So, it's not only like, or biotech or climate tech. It's what can actually like make the purpose of the space. So some spaces can define themselves around social missions, supporting women entrepreneurs or creating opportunities for immigrants or actually making sustainability for the neighborhood. But like an identity that can tell people you belong here. And without it, you just have a co-working. So if you want to create an ecosystem, you need that. Second, I would say consistency. Communities don't grow from one off events, and usually there's a misconception that programming is just events. The reality is that you need that consistency because those rituals and that things that happen one and again, that weekly gathering, that mentorship programs, that creates a rhythm that builds the trust. And without the trust, you don't have collaboration. Third, I would say accessibility. So collaboration has to be easy and open. If the programs are too expensive, if they're hidden away, if they're actually making someone feel like they're not part of it, it's also going to create an issue that it's not going to enable the collaboration. And the fourth is neutral ground. We've seen that a lot of institutions try to do this, like a university or a corporation, but if they're not a neutral ground, it's complicated because competitiveness starts to show off. So the important thing is to be a middle ground, a neutral ground, where the universities can come here, where the corporations and the startups, for all of us to share as equals. So I think combining identity, consistency, accessibility, and neutral ground, you can make real collaboration happen. And from that, I would say impact and economic growth.
So clearly said. I've always admired this about you, Ale. You have a way of synthesizing complex information into something so simple and so easy to follow. Thank you so much for that insight. I just want to emphasize some of the things that you said. I think that when we are making the case for why shared services and why shared spaces matter, it's not just about a brick and mortar building. It's not just about floating desks or hot desks or events and space. And it's also not just about one mentorship program or one coaching program. It's what happens when we bring all of these pieces together, when we're considering that investing in shared spaces and services can create a supporting environment where economic growth is catalyzed, where collaboration is incited, where an entire city or location can benefit by being closer to an innovation hub or having an innovation hub in its city. And it's not only economic impact, right, that we just talked about, it's also social and human connection. I mean, I think we've all had that experience when we move to a new city. We don't know anyone, we're starting a business or we're trying to grow our business, and we all need a home base. We all need somewhere where we feel like we can walk through the door and we belong. And that's not just a kind of a touchy-feely emotional thing. That sense of belonging can lead to somebody staying and building and creating and hiring and gaining more investment and becoming a platform for others. And then just to reconfirm what you said, I love the identity, consistency, accessibility, and neutral ground. I mean, I think that that is such a strong playbook that CIC has created and that you've been able to experience in many different locations.
Thank you very much, Alia. We're really excited about what we're building, and we've seen this work in different cultures, different cities. So I think we've come to learn a really good playbook, as you said, that can be applied in different places.
Thank you so much, Ale B, for being here for this brief but super insightful conversation. We really appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please share this content with someone who you think would benefit. If something we discussed sparked your interest, please reach out to us so we can accelerate impact together. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, sign up for our newsletter, and follow Radical Partners on social media.